to have two sessions that are looking at startups in the travel area. And I'm very excited to introduce Kevin May, editor of T-News, who's probably seen more startups than I've had hot dinners, and probably presided over the fate of many of those failures as well. So, yeah. So if I could welcome Kevin up to the podium here, and he's going to introduce our esteemed panel who are going to talk to you. They come from a range of backgrounds, funding for startups, people who've run successful startups, hopefully going to share a lot of their experience and knowledge and help you if that's what you're looking to do. So please, Kevin.
Okay, it's very loud. Good morning, everybody. How's your day 3, if it is your 3rd day? Yep, good response. Right, okay, so how to create a travel startup sounds very simple, doesn't it? It isn't, but what we're going to do over the next 40 minutes or so is hear from these 4 guys, 1 lady, 3 guys, 1 lady, and they're going to talk a little bit about their experiences and what they do, and then we're going to grill them afterwards. So as always with these kind of things, put your hands up and we'll try and get to you as soon as we can. However, a quick show of hands to warm you up first of all. How many of you in the audience are travel startups? Ooh. Okay. How many of you are thinking, in brackets, crazy, of starting your own travel business? Okay. Oh, that's more than I thought. So well done, Mark and Steve, for the promotion. Excellent. Okay, so as I said, creating a travel startup isn't easy. On tnews.com, over the last 2.5 years, we've written about close to 550 travel startups. Those are the ones that we've just been tracking at T-News. We estimate there's probably at least another 100, 150 more. Out of those 550, it's actually very difficult to tell a lot of the time, but we think, this is a conservative figure, around 1/3 of those are no longer in existence. They've run out of money, they've gone out of business, but because the website just stays up and you can't actually see whether they're in business or not. But we reckon around 1/3 of those travel startups have come, they've made some noise, and they've disappeared for a variety of reasons, which we may get to with our panel here. So it is actually very difficult, but as I said, these guys here are going to talk us through their experiences, and hopefully those of you who did put your hands up as travel startups or thinking about it will learn something over the next 40 minutes. But without further ado, each of these 4 is going to have 5 minutes to just give us a little bit of a discussion. And I'm delighted to welcome Timothy O'Neill-Dunn, who's from VaultPad. Quick disclosure, he does write occasionally for T-News. So anyway, over to you, Timothy.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So how many people in the audience don't have English as your native language? Oh, look at that. Right. Well, I'll try and cut my comments to understandable English, because I carry multiple passports. So when I thought about this, I was looking at what is the real advice I can give you. So I'm going to try and give you some real key pointers, and if somebody wants to come up to me afterwards, I can maybe give you a printed version of this. So the first comment is, don't do it. Just don't. You're insane. I think that's what Kevin said earlier. You should run, not walk away from your idea as fast as you can. So the second thing is, don't come to me, because from my background, I've worked on a lot of startups. I think we've been doing startups in my group for 17 years. And in that time, we've done probably about 1 a year. And about half of those have been successful. So we think we have a slightly better rate. But we call it aggressive mentoring when we take people on board. And we don't take people on board easily. It's very hard to choose the right one. So the second thing is, I can't tell you, I probably look at 4 or 5 startup ideas, other than what Kevin gets, every week. And of those, the majority of them start with, I was traveling in Southeast Asia, fill in the rest of the blanks. And Kevin actually stole my story when we were in Singapore a couple of weeks ago. The third thing I would say to you is, figure it all out. Don't just figure one bit of it out. You need to figure all of it out. Don't walk into me with a half-baked idea. Too many people have not fully baked their idea. You look and sound like an idiot. So don't do it. Please think it through. And let me give you some more advice. You need to have a team of people. A single guy in a garage doesn't hack it anymore. You need to have multiple people working on the same idea at the same time. And all of you must have that same focus. A thin team is okay if you've got a thin idea. A big idea needs a fair number of people to make this work. Make sure your business has a really good plan. And I don't mean just writing the business plan and getting something off businessplan.com. I mean think it all the way through. Make sure that those economics are sound. And probably one of the things you should do is figure out who your biggest competition is. And guess what? The biggest competition is nothing. That is, people don't do what you think they're going to do. So the biggest competition is actually inactivity. So be careful with research. There's an awful lot of bullshit research out there. If somebody shows me another SurveyMonkey piece of research as their validation for their idea, I'll immediately diss it. People tell lies. People have aspirations as to why they respond to surveys, and you don't get really good idea. And don't get me started on mobile. There's some questions you should ask yourself. Would a bank manager like it and lend you money? If your idea is good enough, a bank manager will do that. Would your mum and dad understand it and lend you money? How many people have lent from their mum and dad? Come on, own up. Come on, there you go. A little more. Come on. Thank you. All right. How hard are you prepared to work? This is not a 9-to-5 job. It's not 40 hours a week. It is a full-time, 100% 7/24. You've got to embrace this. If you're going to go off on a holiday, don't even think about doing a startup. This is your holiday. This is everything you're going to do. You're going to embrace this and you're going to live with this. And finally, ask yourself, what are your friends going to say? Are they going to think cool or fool? So with that, I think I've done my 5 minutes, haven't I, Kev? Pretty good. Thank you very much.
Okay, Timothy O'Neill done. Sabine DeWitt from Blanco, over to you.
I spend half of my time traveling to find the most promising startups in the world for a couple of European investors. What I've noticed during those trips is everyone starts with I made, or I create, or look, I have this idea. Well, it's not about you. It's about the problem your idea solves, the thing that's going to contribute to our lives. If you can share that as a story, if that is the core of your pitch, then you have investors interested. That is the purpose of what your startup pitch should be about, not about where you created it, where the idea came from, or what the story is. Of course, it's nice as a marketing story if you have a good one. But the most important thing is concentrate on what is the main focus of your startup idea. What is it going to add? Is it not adding value? Is it not unique? Stop your story, stop your pitch. What I've noticed that a lot of startups in travel, they have a great idea, they have a nice design, great websites, but they did only research in Europe or only in the USA. The borders that they're crossing during their travels, they don't cross them when researching. Such a waste, because many, many ideas are already existed, dead, or not worth investing in. For investors, it's very important that you have a team, what also Timothy said, a very motivated team that is willing to do everything for the startup, not holidays, traveling the world and working hours long, but also not working on the nice things only. Of course, there's long nights of coding, long nights of thinking how I'm going to make money. That's what I miss in a lot of pitches. What is your business revenue? How do you think people are willing to pay for your product or idea? It's very important to make sure from the moment you start that you're able to scale your model and your idea. If you're not able to scale, if your startup is not able to grow with you, stop. There's no will in putting all your effort into an idea that's not scalable. It's for yourself because you grow and you want your idea to grow with you. You want your public to grow with you. And if it's not able to grow up, it's not worth to invest in. From a PR perspective, I think you should make more budget for PR and marketing because it's hard to tell everybody about your product and your idea, to make them, to convince them to use it. And like I said, the story is not about you. Nobody cares who you are unless you're Mark Zuckerberg or charming as Jack Dorsey. Then people are willing to hear, that's Jack Dorsey and he has something new. You have to make a name because of your service and of the idea. If you don't have a good story of the idea itself, just quit. Well, that was pretty much the essence of my story.
Okay, Sabine, David, have a round of applause, please. It's quite nice to see so many people scribbling notes, so good start, guys. Okay, Benji Lanyardo, who is with Pickfair. I keep on reading that as Betfair, but that's something completely different, clearly. Ex-Guardian journalist, but now entering the startup world. Benji, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm a recovering travel journalist. I spent about 8 years after university being a professional lucky bastard and travelling around for The Guardian, The New York Times, Financial Times. I eventually went in-house at The Guardian as a writer and a digital producer. And that's when I first came into contact with developers. And I had a sort of a moment about 2 years ago when I realised I was more interested in working with the developers than I was with the editors. And they didn't know what to do with me. They talked about it as the Benji problem inside The Guardian. Because editorial people tend not to want to work with technology. Anyway, I did. I ended up quitting my job, and last year I started learning how to code. Anyone that's grown up in the UK knows that our ICT provision within schools is awful. You get taught how to do spreadsheets and Word documents, but no logic, no problem solving, no language, no programming languages. But the market has responded, and now in London there are 3 or 4 different coding schools where they will take you from knowing nothing to being able to build websites. And so I signed up at one of those called General Assembly. There's now 3 or 4 in London. One's called steer.me, which is great. Another one called Makers Academy. I had an idea that I'd been wanting to build for years. I worked with images a lot as a travel journalist, and I learned 2 ridiculous things about the image industry. First of all, it's massive. It's a $4.5 billion industry, and that is based on a 74% market rate. So if you sell an image via Getty, Shutterstock, Corbis, on average, they will take 74% of your profits. That's bananas. That's not responding to the way the world works these days. Secondly, it's an incredibly exclusive industry in an age of abundance. Last year, the global image stocks grew by 9 million images across the board. Over the same period of time, Facebook and Instagram added 154 billion images to its servers. Now, of course, most of those are rubbish. But if 0.01% of those are fit for market, so 1 in 10,000, that's an extra 15 million images that aren't getting to market. So I want to flip both of those things. And I launched Pickfair. I started building Pickfair in February. I launched it 3 months ago. I've got approaching 20,000 images now and approaching 2,000 users. It's still just me running it. And I'm currently sort of in stage 3 of startup, early stage startup. I quit my job with the idea. I learned how to code, and I built it, and now I'm moving towards fundraising. So I'm basically, I've got an amount of money that I'm looking to raise. It's actually the hardest thing that I'm having to learn so far. I've been doing it for about 6 weeks. I'm basically chasing people with money around London. Things are going really well, but it's pickfair.com. Write it down, open it up on your phones right now. And that's pretty much me. You can ask any other questions afterwards.
Okay, short and snappy. Thank you very much. Benji Lanyardo, have a round of applause. And finally to you, Thierry Wong from UMAT. Yep. Over to you, sir.
Hi, I'm Thierry Wong from UMAP. We're technology startup based in Montreal, Canada, and we're actually exhibiting here at WTM in the travel tech section. I come from the financial industry. I have over 15 years of experience in the financial industry, and one of the first things you'll have to decide when you do a startup is, are you willing to quit? It's probably one of the toughest decisions for me, leaving the security of what I've known for my entire career behind to jump into the unknown. And once you decide that your idea is actually worth pursuing, one of my advice to you is to try to find a co-founder. It's the startup world is really, really hard. It's a lonely place. It's always great to find someone who is as passionate about as you are about your product. If you can't convince that one person, then maybe you should rethink. Once you've got your co-founder, right now it's a really exciting time. As much as it's hard to do a startup, it's an exciting time to do a startup. The barriers of entry into a technology startup has never been lower. Look around, you will see that there's lots of companies that are catering specifically to startups. For example, if you do a technology startup, you're probably going to look at Amazon Web Services. And they have a program called Activate that's catered towards startups. They give free help, free customer help, free training, and you should probably take a look around. There's a bunch of them that are catering to that. The other thing that has been very helpful for us, especially in Montreal, is that and we've seen it happening around cities around the world, is that the startup culture has moved really out of Silicon Valley. And a lot of cities now are trying to build tech hubs. So one of the things that has been very useful for us is to go to and look around at all of these organizations that are catering to these startups. So in Montreal, for example, we've been able to get grants and financial help. We've also been able to get a lot of mentors that have really helped us find the right resources for us. For example, there are lots of mentors that are volunteering from the legal field. So far, we've been in business for about a year, and most of our costs have been lawyers' fees. And it's been great to get second opinion from volunteers lawyers to really help us make use of our lawyers' fee, keep our lawyers' fee reasonable. The other thing I would suggest is that when you look at these organizations, they usually have pitch contests, just like the one you'll see right after this one, or you would apply for grants. And apply for them, no matter how small it is, no matter how, it's not really about winning, it's really about you getting the practice of pitching and presenting in a, I would say, safe environment. Because once you get in front of Timothy, it's going to be a lot harder. And the last thing I would say about the startup, about doing a startup is try to reach out to where other startups are. There are incubators, there are co-working spaces in cities now. Go hang out with them. You'll find that you will be able to share the experience that they have gone through. They will be able to help you out. And actually, probably one of the greatest things for us has been you get the recommendation to people, to other resources that you will need, who are used to working with startup. Because that's how we found our UI designer, we found our marketing company, because it takes a special type of company that wants to work with a startup, knowing that you're working with a company that is young, doesn't have a lot of money, and has tight timelines. So you would really want to get into that startup community and try to get into that support network.
Okay, thank you very much. Round of applause for Thierry here. It is a bit dark, so if you